Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm sure we're going to have a few other people join us as we get a little bit deeper into the presentation. I'm Executive Director of the Illinois Landscape Contractors Association, Scott Grams, and I wanted to thank you all for joining us this morning. The idea of gathering all the colleges and universities within Illinois that still offer horticulture programs has been a long time coming and probably long overdue. It's likely that only a few of you on the call may remember the old Green Industry Association that Richard Henschel from University of Illinois Extension organized at the Golf House in Lamont. He organized a few meetings a year. It was usually a relatively loose confederation of the colleges, the universities, some nonprofit associations, and public gardens from all across the state. And at the time, that was really when I was just getting started with the ILCA. I found it very beneficial to understand where our organization's place was in the larger green industry. And really, the green industry, for the most part, starts formally at institutions like yours, and sometimes will end on stages that the ILCA will put together for Person of the Year honors or for lifetime honorary members and things to that effect. But over time, the Green Industry Association group dwindled, and more groups found it difficult to pull away from campus, especially during the recession. So ILCA is hopeful that this new group, the Illinois Green Industry Network, was only going to meet probably once per year. I hope you also enjoyed this webinar format with the recorded audio. We had a number of schools who weren't able to join us today, but were able to send along slides. So we're hopeful that they get to listen to the audio as well as others who aren't on the call. And at the conclusion of this, I'll send along a link to the recorded audio. So whether your colleagues or any of your school administrators are curious as to how things are going in other parts of the state. Lastly, I really don't want this to be a group that generates more action items or work for the participants. I know how busy you are. If stronger partnerships result as part of this, that's great, but that's not really the intention. The purpose of this group is to share information along a network that I feel is very vital to the green industry success. And I really don't expect this group to function as a nonprofit association, so to speak. It's really just an opportunity for us to share information from time to time. So before we dive in, I just wanted to go over a couple of items. I ask that you keep your phones on mute if you're not speaking, and especially if you're in a public place. I did send out the speaking order yesterday with the completed slides. The only change I currently have is that the College of Lake County has been added and will go after the College of DuPage in the speaking schedule. When your title slide comes up, you may introduce yourself and you then may begin. I ask that each representative speak for no more than probably about 7 minutes, and I'll keep a timer. I'm not going to be turning over the program controls, especially with this many speakers. So I'll simply just say next slide when you want to advance, and of course I'll be following along, and it'll probably be pretty intuitive. We'll save all the questions until the end versus doing them in the middle or immediately after a school's presentation. So if you do have any questions that happen at the beginning of the presentation, I ask that you please write those down, and we'll just have that discussion at the end. For the schools that don't have a speaking representative, we'll flip through those slides at the tail end, but I'm not really going to be able to editorialize much. So their information is really being provided as a reference point, but we will go through the slides just so they are recorded as part of the audio and the video. And at the beginning of the webinar, I'm going to give you some context as to the current state of hiring in the green industry, and as well as some information about what we're currently seeing with wages. I think that would be useful information to potentially pass along to your students. And then after that, we'll move on to the individual school presentations. Two final notes. I did not hear from the University of Illinois Chicago, Blackhawk College, Kaskaskia College, or Southwestern Illinois College. So if anyone does know of these individuals or has an update on their programs, just please email me and let me know whether I should be reaching out to a different individual or if the program has been retired. And along that note, the following programs recently canceled their horticulture programs due to low enrollment or a lack of organizational support. That's Illinois Valley Community College, John Wood Community College, Lincoln Trail College, and Rend Lake College. All of those programs have been canceled within the last 3 years, so we're sad to see them go. But once again, I want to thank you all for joining me this morning, and I hope you find this is a valuable step forward as we build a stronger statewide green industry association. So here's today's agenda, just to break it down into time frames. And let's begin talking about where we currently are with the state of the green industry. So if those of you were lucky enough to be affiliated with the green industry back in the mid-2000s, this is pretty much what it looked like in the landscape industry in the summer of 2007. I think people would agree that this was the absolute apex of the Illinois green industry, especially the Chicagoland market, where people would say it was impossible not to make money. And then, of course, we moved on to the summer of 2008 when the recession hit, and the recession, of course, hit this industry very, very hard. This was doubly bad in regards to the recession because obviously it went after the income and the equity that people had in their homes. And when that dries up, obviously landscaping will be quick to follow. So just to give you some ideas as to where we've come from and then where we are today, in 2007, the green industry nationally employed about 700,000 people. Within Illinois, we employed about 68 to 70,000 during that time frame. In 2011, the number dropped by 17%, or down to 600,000. And in total, over the 7 years that we would call the recession, even though I think some economists would disagree, but I think that's what most landscapers would agree with, we lost about 21% of the workforce. So 1 out of every 5 landscaping or green industry employees left, and very few have returned. So that's the bad news. The good news is that according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, landscaping is expected to grow by 15% nationally by 2020. And also we've just crossed the $80 billion mark as far as a total industry net worth. So what that means basically is that all of the jobs that have been lost since the recession are going to be recovered. That sounds and looks good on paper. But if you were to talk to probably most of the landscape professionals who are graduates of your programs, they will probably tell you that has not necessarily occurred. And most landscape companies right now are running between 60 to 70% capacity. So that means that there's more work on the table that they could possibly react to with the current size crews and organizations that they have. I'm looking at some various data points and a poll. Landscape sales, according to the Harris poll, are going to remain steady. You're going to see the biggest uptake in the design build, the residential design build market. Maintenance is really what got a lot of landscape companies through the recession. That is going to be taken over by the design build market, where you'll see most of the money. In addition, hardscaping has begun to stagnate, I would say, as an industry growth sector, and you're starting to see more and more money being poured into softscaping. This was a recessionary change. During the recession, I think people were looking to, whether it was the staycation or they were looking for something more permanent, but hardscaping was very, very popular and really sustained the design build portion of the industry. Now I think because people feel like they have some disposable income again, they're starting again to look at more softscaping and putting in more plant material, which I think is good news because there's much better margins for landscape companies, and of course it also helps out growers and propagators as well. Obviously landscaping, according to every realtor study, offers a huge return on your investment. And when the housing market booms again, I think you'll start to see people pour more and more money into their landscaping as a result. Also, the really interesting difference was there's been no generational difference in how millennials and Gen Xers value landscaping. I think there was a concern that they would view it as wasteful or vain, but according to the Harris poll, it's basically the same as you see with baby boomers. Now, a lot of that comes down to disposable income, but as far as the overall value of landscaping to those individuals has not changed. And obviously the Midwest, we have a strong affinity towards professional landscaping or even DIY landscaping. We have the highest percentages across the country of people who say that they value their landscaping. And I think probably it's a result of the seasonality where Midwesterners are only able to enjoy it for a smaller period of time than you will see in the largest landscape markets of the far West Coast and the South. Looking at some pay and labor trends, I did some research for my January 2018 magazine column in the Landscape Contractor. I wanted to see if wages were the reason why the hiring crunch was so severe. So I looked at the 2006 rates that were published by the National Association of Landscape Professionals, and I cross-referenced those with the 2016 rates, and then I added in, of course, inflation to see, just how far, we may have gone up or gone down potentially as a result of the recession, or as just a result of time passing. I was almost hopeful that I would see nothing but negative numbers, which would help explain, well, there's your problem. You're not paying people enough. But as you can see, pretty much everything went up significantly based on national averages over the course of that 10-year period. I mean, obviously the rates were going to go up, but did they go up above the rate of inflation? That's the real question. Obviously, landscaping still, it's not a white-collar job for many of the positions, but these are still very competitive labor rates per hour than you would see with some other trades, especially service jobs and light industrial jobs. And then just some key takeaways. Talking to the market and looking at the market, labor costs are still 40%, a little over 40% of a landscape company's overall expenses. So given that, any fluctuations in wages, when those go up, have a dramatic impact on the bottom line. Right now, looking at the factors, just the economic factors that influence wage growth, I list those there. If you take a second to read those, you're basically going to say that we have an environment where either 5 of the 6 of those are hitting, if not all 6, especially how the market has shifted from an employer-based market to an employee-based market. That's been probably one of the biggest shifts that we've seen. Workplace culture now is very, very important, and employees leave if they just don't feel valued. So given that, wages are obviously going to begin to rise more steadily than even what you saw during the recession with just with inflation factored in. So now you're going to have demand pull inflation, and during periods of demand pull inflation, this is going to happen among all industries, you're going to see wages go up. So the bad news for landscape companies is that it's going to bite into that. Their expenses are going to go up on the labor side. The good news is typically when you pay people more, you have lower turnover. So that's really the state of where we're at right now. But make no mistake, other than the brief periods of recession, labor has always been the biggest issue facing the green industry, and that's a national problem and not just endemic to Illinois. And then just finally, I want to just briefly touch on some ways that some of the schools can engage with the ILCA. Just to let you know, we do offer ILCECO scholarships. I know many of your students have applied for these scholarships in the past, but we annually disperse $27,500 in 5 scholarships. So our largest scholarship is $10,000, which is pretty significant for, I know, looking at some of the tuition rates. The only thing is that they must be residents of Illinois, but they can go to any school that is contiguous to Illinois. iLandscape, I know a lot of your schools do take advantage of this, but we offer complimentary trade show registrations, and then we also have a deeply discounted education pass, which gets them into all 3 days of the education. And then we also have a job fair on the final day, on the Friday, as well as a few educational sessions specifically designed for students. We've also created a committee called FLIP, which is the Future Landscape Industry Professionals Committee. It's chaired by Jim Martin of James Martin Associates up in Lake County. This year, their areas of focus are going to be on high school students and counselors. We have found during our focus group research that they are the most receptive to a career in the green industry, far more receptive than younger students, and especially far more receptive than parents of younger students. We commissioned 3 focus groups, and that was the data that we pulled from that, that when high school students are exposed to positive imagery and a positive view of the green industry, they are very interested in perhaps pursuing it as a vocation. So I'm hoping that's good information to obviously all of you who make your living going after high school students and also career changers to bring them into your programs. And lastly, we have a student design competition, which is organized by the College of DuPage. And that is so if anyone has any questions about that, you can contact Brian Clement if you're not receiving information about that. But basically, they do a design project, which is then reviewed and vetted by our ILCA design committee, and the winners are announced at the iLandscape show in February, and that is for high school and college-age students. It also has a 3D visualization, a CAD component, and also hand drawing. And also, if there's any other ways that the ILCA can help your programs, please contact me, whether offline or call me or send me an email. We're always happy to talk or to potentially find someone, whether it's adjunct faculty, individuals to help serve on your steering committees. We want to help you guys in any way that we possibly can. So now I'm going to begin the school presentations. Do we have the representative from Richland? I know he had to leave a little bit early. I just wanted to ask if Andy was on the call. Andy, you are.
Yes, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes. So go ahead,
okay,
Andy.
Great. Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for accommodating me. I have to leave in about not long after my presentation, actually. We are currently in flux right now with horticulture. I am the division dean. My division inherited horticulture about a year ago due to some restructuring. Right now, we are without a full-time professor. The full-time professor that we had resigned back in January, so we do have 2 adjunct professors who are teaching our courses, including one person who is a part-time farm coordinator. She oversees our student farm and also teaches a couple of classes. We are in the process of hiring a full-time ag director. We are also going to be relaunching our ag program in the fall of 19, just to make some changes according to some industry needs, and we're in the process of hiring that person right now. That person would help out with the horticulture as part of their job duties. Because of us being in flux, our program is somewhat down. We had 17 students in academic year 16-17. There was a 15% drop from a 2-year period. But I did share as comparison, our CTE programs had a more dramatic drop than horticulture did. So that's kind of like good, I guess, good news. It's not as bad as the rest of them, I suppose. It is a small sample size, though, so I would take any stats with a grain of salt. We do tend to see more of our early 20s for our students, with the exception of a handful of people who are retired. And part of our things that we're going to be doing in the future is doing more of the community ed classes for those that are pursuing horticulture as more of a hobby, and then focusing our curriculum on those that are pursuing horticulture as a career. It has been mostly a male program. The race is predominantly white, although we are seeing a little more diversity than we used to. It does tend to be a little bit more blue collar, but I do say right now most of our students are those who are just starting out in their careers, so it's hard to really call them blue collar. Could be more like service industry or just out of high school in some cases, with the exception of those few retirees who are in the program. And the retirees tend to have a diverse collection of experiences before they join it. They often are doing it just as something that they want to do in retirement. We offer 2 degrees right now. They both are in horticulture. One is the ornamental specialty. This is on the next slide. One is on the
Yeah.
sustainable ag specialty. Students can only earn 1 degree, though, the way that it's tagged with the ICCB. We are looking to change that because we like to give more options than we do. We also offer certificates in landscape and turf and greenhouse. The ornamental tends to be a little bit more popular right now. Like the greenhouse work, that's been more popular than the sustainable ag has been. We don't offer any online classes. That's something that we're looking into. Most of our curriculum, though, is hands-on. We do quite a bit of work where they're out there, they're planting things, they're learning things hands-on, and that's where the part-time farm coordinator is helpful. Our budget got approved last night, so I can say this with confidence. We are having some new additions coming this coming fiscal year. We are adding a farm bot, an irrigation system, an aeroponics system, and a portable building for raising livestock. I also forgot to mention that we are going to be updating our greenhouse. The panels have gotten a little bit worn. I'll tell you, my degree is in math, so I cannot explain what those things are for the most part, but they seem like pretty cool things that we're going to be getting. And with the changes this past year of our instructor leaving, we've been able to do a lot of restructuring with the program and kind of rethinking it. We have a great environmental studies program. We have a carbon sequestration facility here on campus with the Department of Energy. We're doing some cover crops research with our students. We have a 5-year research plots going on at our campus farm. And we've been able to tie that very well to horticulture and then to agriculture as we redo our ag program. We also, this past spring semester, since we found ourselves in kind of a sudden state of flux, we tried some things because we had nothing to lose, really. We started doing some farm-to-table stuff, raising chickens for our culinary arts restaurant. We have a great culinary arts program here on campus. It's certified through the Culinary Federation, has a gourmet restaurant here on campus as well. And we've done some new work now with using our produce to serve that restaurant, something that we should have done years ago, but we've been able to do it this past spring, and we're keeping it going. And we do operate a student farm. We have a weekly market that's in its 8th year this summer. We made some changes to that market this year. I'm not sure where things are in your communities for the rest of you, but here in Decatur, farmers markets became a huge thing the past couple of years where there seemed to be multiple, 5 or 6 at the same time around town. We need to separate ourselves because of that. We're not alone. So we now have a grower exclusive market. Everything must be grower made, not reselled. So that's our change. It's made a positive impact on our market this year. So thank you for your time, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andy. I don't see Brian Clement on the list. Do we have a representative? Oh, hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You can go ahead and begin if you'd like.
Okay. Brian Clement from College of DuPage, the horticulture department coordinator and professor, or one of the full-time professors. Faculty size, in our program, we have 2 full-time faculty members, 2 classified staff members, 1 program specialist. We have about 22 adjunct faculty. A lot of them come from industry and stuff. And then also we hired 2 student workers throughout the year. I included our FTE headcount for horticulture. This includes dual credit. Right now we're sitting this past spring with about 288 students. Our summer enrollment this summer actually increased over 50% from the previous summers. So our actual enrollment's been going up, which is good news. So you can kind of see the numbers there from 2016 to 2018. As far as our 2-year horticulture enrollment trends, the data that I pulled was basically starting back from 2005 through 2018. And you can see we've had a pretty good increase in numbers. The 2012, 2013, we were down about 18%. But we picked that up back in 2014, 2015. We had a 29% increase in enrollment. And the past 2 years, we've had a steady increase in enrollment too. Program demographics. Overall, our college enrollment, we're seeing a decrease of about 4% right now with overall headcount in college enrollment. We're one of the few departments that has shown an increase. Business and technology overall has kind of showed an increase over the past year. As far as program demographics, these numbers probably are a little off. When I pulled the data from research and analytics, some of these numbers didn't match up quite with some of the other numbers. But you can see we're seeing a larger, younger group of students coming into the program. We've been reaching out to a lot of the high schools, doing career fairs and things like that. Used to be our program, we've seen quite a few older students, but we're seeing that more that younger group of students now in the past couple of years. As far as degrees, certificates that we offer 3 degrees. We offer a horticulture degree, a landscape contracting and management degree. That was new 3 years ago when we became nationally accredited through the National Association of Landscape Professionals. And then we also offer a sustainable urban agriculture degree that was also new that same year, about 3 years ago. We also offer 9 certificates in horticulture, floral shop management, nursery garden center management, greenhouse management, landscape design and construction. We have a new power equipment and technology certificate that's been popular. Sustainable landscape design, landscape and turf maintenance, and then sustainable urban agriculture. Total, we offer about 52 different classes in the field of horticulture. So the new degrees, we added the landscape contracting and management degree and sustainable urban ag degree and certificate, and the power equipment technology certificate 3 years ago. During that time, we had a lot of program changes, new additions. We added 17 new classes within the past 3 years to the program. That was all from feedback we got from students and from industry or local businesses and stuff too. As far as online courses, about 4 years ago, we ventured into offering courses online. Now we're up to about 6 or 7 courses that we offer in online format. Introduction to Horticulture, we offer an OSHA 10-hour landscape safety course. That's a 1 credit hour class. Turf Science and Management, we offer online. Irrigation and Water Management, Principles of Agroecology, Urban Ag Issues. This fall, we are going to launch Horticulture Business in an online format. Next spring, 3D Landscape Design in the online format. And fall of 2019, Perennial Plant Communities 1 that Roy Dibblick actually teaches. We're trying to do more online classes. A lot of our students like that if they're working full-time. And we're also pulling, in our online classes, we're also pulling quite a few students out of state. And we actually had 1 student from South Korea this semester in one of our online classes. So that was kind of cool. We also offer about 13 classes in hybrid format, which half of the class is online, and then the other half of the class meets for labs. All of our power equipment technology courses are in hybrid format. We have an Introduction to Horticulture class in online format. Our landscape construction, landscape maintenance classes are in hybrid format. Also, our computer-aided design, 3D design, and our landscape design 2 classes are in hybrid format. And about 85% of our classes have hands-on lab portions and stuff like that. As far as facility improvements, when we went through the major changes in the department and added the new degrees and classes, we had major upgrades in lab facilities. We actually spent about $400,000 building a new sustainable urban farm here on campus to support that new degree and those new classes. And we've had major upgrades in the landscape lab for plant ID purposes for our design classes to utilize in that. The new power equipment technology program that includes industry certifications through EETC, Steel, and Briggs & Stratton. We had a lot of expense there, actually purchasing training equipment, and we're anticipating becoming EETC accredited this fall for that program. Some other major upgrades in new lab equipment to support that new landscape contracting and management degree. We've purchased a lot of new equipment for training that goes along with that degree in those classes. We've utilized basically donations, capital funding, and also a lot of Perkins grant dollars for that. We've had computer upgrades for the CAD and 3D classes, and the entire college campus here is either new or has new state-of-the-art facilities or renovated facilities over the past 9 years, and they're continuing making improvements and some new things coming in the near future. As far as student recruitment success strategies, again, we go to 7th grade career fairs. We visit high schools and participate in various college career fairs. We also host a College DuPage Tech Spotlight. That's where we invite community members, families, and stuff in to the tech building one evening and give them tours and show them the various programs. We participate in various industry events such as ILC Field Days, iLandscape. We give various department tours for community groups throughout the year. We also collect department data on each student, making sure that they stay on track to complete those degrees and certificates to keep them in the program and keep them on track. We also have a strong working relationship with our multimedia department and marketing department on recruitment materials and keeping the website up to date. We're going through a lot of changes. We're developing actually a new website for the college, which is supposed to be more interactive and stuff. And then we've also developed program of studies with our 7 district high schools that offer dual credit in horticulture, and we're looking at expanding that into possibly 4, 5, 6 more high schools in the surrounding area and offering more dual credit and programs of study for those students. As far as what makes our program special or unique, we offer a diversity of courses, 52 offered in the program. We have a specialized experience and dedicated staff that brings various knowledge and stuff to the program. We have various partnerships with local businesses and a strong advisory board that provides input and feedback to the program. And we have very strong support from the administration and the community.
Thank you, Brian. Is Rory Click with the College of Lake County on the line? She must have gotten tied up. I will go through these slides quickly just so we can get them on the recorded webinar. All right. Do we have a representative from Illinois Central College on the line? Is Corinne with us?
Corinne is not, but this is Joel Reeker. I'm an adjunct that's representing ICC today.
Great, Joel. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, no problem. As far as ICC goes, we've had some changes over the past, 5-6 years, but right now we've kind of really leveled off where we're at as far as faculty. We have 1 full-time faculty, 3 part-time adjunct instructors, and then we have a couple faculty that are shared with the agriculture department. So some of our soil classes and the small engines repair classes, things like that, we share some faculty with the agriculture department. The graphics here, the total horticulture enrollment, that will change a little bit, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we've completely revamped our turf grass management class. So in the past, the landscape management class and the turf grass management class were only 1 or 2 classes apart. And so a lot of our landscape management students would say they were landscape management students, and then they would get a turf grass management degree on top of that. So the numbers are skewed towards the landscape management on this slide, mainly because a lot of those students would also get a turf grass management degree by taking the 2 or 3 extra classes, but they weren't a dedicated turf grass management student. Overall, the college has seen a very dramatic decrease in enrollment, and we're seeing that as well in the horticulture department. Not as dramatic, but we have seen quite a bit of a enrollment decline. As far as our demographics, we are pretty spread out. If you look at our average age around 30, we see a lot of second career students, and then a lot of service members or students that are changing careers, maybe mid-20s to late 20s. And then we are predominantly white with a pretty even distribution between male and female, and most of our students have some sort of employment, whether that would be working full-time or working part-time. We offer 2 degrees. We are certified, obviously, with the National Association of Landscape Professionals. Like I said earlier, our horticulture landscape and our horticulture turf grass classes were extremely similar. So we've completely revamped those classes with pressure from administration, especially with lower enrollment numbers. We have gotten rid of a lot of electives. So our landscape management class used to have 8, 9, 10 electives that you could choose from, and now we've pretty much streamlined everything to these are the classes you need to take for horticulture landscape management, and these are the classes you need to take for turf grass management classes degree. When doing that, we've added 2 classes to the turf grass management degree, and then brought back some older elective classes that are now required for that degree. We do offer 2 certificate programs for the landscape management and the turf grass management, but those are a 1-year term. You can go to the next slide. We do not offer any full online courses. However, our hybrid courses change quite a bit from year to year. We see a lot of, like I said before, second career students, and a lot of them are either working currently and they need some sort of help when it comes to daytime classes. So these are an example of classes right now that are hybrid courses, but over the years we've probably had 5 or 6 hybrid courses where they would have 1 lab during the week, and then most of the schoolwork would be done online. Pretty much all of our horticulture classes are hands-on and have both a lecture and a lab component. we have not seen a whole lot of improvement in our land lab, other than some, maintenance. I heard someone earlier was saying they were upgrading the greenhouse and things like that. We've seen that happen. Some smaller upgrades, but nothing big as far as capital would go. But we feel as if our facilities really do serve our students well. It gives us a lot of locations and space for hands-on learning. And as far as our recruitment goes, we have started to work in FFA in high schools and some of the other local high schools. Recruitment had been down as we had a decent turnover in full-time department, and Corinne has recently, within the past 5 years, taken over as full-time. There was a time before that where we probably had 2 or 3 full-time instructors over a 5-year period. So now that we've settled in, we're starting to see some more recruitment happening. One of the things that we feel that makes our program special is the hands-on learning that we do. We spend a lot of time outdoors. We have a lot of different facilities that we use. We have a greenhouse that is, it's like an outdoor greenhouse that has a sand base in it, and we utilize that in the winter for our landscape construction classes and some of our design build classes. So the students are actually building retaining walls, they're building patios in a controlled environment right in the middle of winter. And all of you know, we're in Illinois, we get a lot of snow, so it's really nice to be inside and have a real life experience for that. We participate in a lot of events. We go to the National Association of Landscape Professional Student Career Days. We have a horticulture club that we like to go to the iLandscape trade show, as well as the Kentucky show every fall. Our faculty are young professionals who are passionate about the students and about the green industry. That's another thing. I went to ICC. I graduated about eight or 9 years ago. Corinne went to ICC. She graduated 10 years ago. So we've gone through the program. We know what it's like, and we come back and we're really excited about ICC and what we can do for the future.
Thank you very much, Joel. Much appreciated. I think David Kopsel is on the phone, and possibly Jessica.
Well, actually, I have Nick Pershey with me today, so there's 2 of us here.
Great. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Doing well.
Okay, Scott. Well, thank you again for this opportunity. I think this is a great idea. And for those of you who don't know out there on the conference call, the horticulture and landscape management sequence here at Illinois State is part of our Department of Agriculture. And we have 3 full-time people. I myself am the PhD in the program, and Jessica and Nick both have their master's degrees, and they are full-time. Jessica directs our horticulture center, and Nick is also the horticulture director out there, but also teaches full-time in the program. All 3 of us, just like Joel with the previous speaker, are alums of the program. So again, we know our program really well. And we also have anywhere between 2 and 3 part-time people that are maybe teaching 1 or 2 classes in the curriculum a year. I've been here for 10 years, and our enrollment has remained relatively steady around 45 students. When you look nationally at the trend at 4-year universities, horticulture is down. So the fact that we're holding steady at about 45 students, I think, is really good. And we also have a master's student program here as well. And we have anywhere between 2 and 3 students who are working on horticultural projects towards their master's degree. Since I've been here, we've graduated 8 horticulture students with master's degrees, and I've advised 11 of them. Our 2-year enrollment trend is rising, but what we're finding is in department-wide, I would say about 60% of our students are 2-year transfers into our entire program, and horticulture is about the same. But over the years, and all the other instructors in the department are seeing this, less and less of our students are coming from a traditional farm or horticulture background. Both Nick and I grew up in the industry in Illinois, so it's a little bit of a difference for us to be teaching students who don't have that background that we do. As far as our university and college enrollment trends, we've been hit hard by the state budget impasses, but ISU itself has remained strong and stable, what our president Larry Dietz always says. The university itself has seen record freshman enrollment the last several years. The college that we are in is seen record enrollment at about 4,700 students. I've been in this department for 10 years. When I came 10 years ago, the department itself had 260 students. Horticulture was about 40 or 45. Last year we had over 600 students in the ag department, but horticulture was about 45. So we're seeing increases in all of our other disciplines in the department, but horticulture is remaining relatively steady. So if we go to the next slide with our demographics, the majority of our students are traditional college age, although we do have some students that are, I would say, mid-career people. We're pretty much half and half male and female students. We have about 5 to 10% minority students, and we're seeing that trend increasing a little bit. As I've said, less and less of our students are coming from a practical background, and so I say less farming, more suburban students that are coming down from the Chicagoland area. But I will say, and I bet you all of us can say this about our horticulture students, is they are very passionate. I say an eclectic group with a really broad interest. Our sequence is titled Horticulture and Landscape Management, and I would roughly say about half of our students are interested in professional landscaping and what ILCA is looking for, but a lot of our students are more interested in the small farming aspect, viticulture, and even the medical cannabis programs that have started in Illinois. So less traditional landscaping, more just general background. We offer a 1 degree in agriculture in our department at the bachelor's level, but we have 10 academic sequences, of which horticulture and landscape management are one of those. What's a little bit different about our program is that we require students for that bachelor's degree to take 19 hours in our College of Business. So many of our students add maybe 2 extra business courses and they can minor in business administration. That's what I did as a student back in 1993 when I graduated. We haven't added any new degree or certificate programs, but we're going to add a new organic crop production class to meet the needs of those students that are very much interested in horticulture production as well. We have a limited offering of online courses, and they would really be more specific to what we would require for our gen ed courses for our bachelor's degree, and also some of our required ag courses are offered online, but nothing in horticulture yet. And again, just like most everybody on the call, our entire program is hands-on. All our courses have a laboratory component. Even though technically our Intro to Hort class is a lecture class, Nick has taken that class over, and he probably does more lab stuff in that class than we actually do in our lecture lab courses. With that, one of the things I'm very proud of is our program. Over the last 10 years, we've conducted over 60 unique service learning or community-based projects out in the community. And if you go to the next slide, I've got some pictures of these. We work with grade schools, high schools, the local vineyards to go out and prune their grapes. We've been very fortunate to find funding for these. And down at the bottom, Oakdale Elementary School, that particular project was 2 classes working together, a design class to redesign the sign planning and a landscape management class to install it. And that class actually received award from our Unit 5 school districts. We've also received awards for these projects, 2 university environmental stewardship awards, and actually 1 state award from the Government Green Council Award for Caught Green-Handed for we've received full Autobahn certification for sustainable management at our Wybring Golf Course, and many of our students and courses have helped in that particular effort. Next slide, please. As far as our facility improvements, we do have a small greenhouse on our campus, but we also have polyhouse gardens and access to our 300+ acre farm. Our gem of our program is our 23-acre horticulture center, and Nick is going to talk about that in a few slides. And it has themed gardens, prairie, crop production, research plots, and it's our laboratory for our particular program. With the grants that we've received, we estimate we've added about $80,000 in equipment, professional landscape grade equipment in the last 5 years that the students can learn how to operate. We really feel that our success is directly related to our relationship with two-year programs. As far as the faculty goes, we were trying to service 600 students with 8 faculty, but with our enrollment increase department-wide, we've been getting more support for our administration, so our faculty numbers are getting back up. We're going to be about 14 full-time faculty, so we're going to try and step back up again and get out to the two-year schools for our face-to-face recruiting, which we think that really helps. As far as the uniqueness, Nick will talk about the Horticulture Center next, but as I mentioned, our horticulture and landscape management sequence requires 19 hours in the College of Business. So our students go over into our renowned College of Business and take their courses, and we've gotten great industry feedback on this. We really consider ourselves flexible and dynamic. We have great opportunities for independent study. Nick will talk about some examples of what students done at the Horticulture Center. And lastly, I really do think our award-winning faculty, staff, and students make our program unique. I really wanted to thank Scott and ILCA. Our student Alex Kelly was the first student to receive the $10,000 ILC scholarship in 2015, and we were really proud of him. The next year, one of our alums, Megan Preventure, who works at Wasco Nursery, received the 2016 Illinois Certified Nursery Professional of the Year, and she's always out touting ISU and our program here as much as she can. And not to toot my own horn, but I myself received the 2015 Outstanding Undergraduate Educator from the American Society of Horticultural Science. And there's only been 2 other professors in Illinois that have ever received that, John Priest and Bob Skirvin, and they're both retired. So we're really proud of that as well. So the next slide, Nick will talk about the horticulture or the center.
All right, so as Dave mentioned, the Horticulture Center is definitely a champion of our program. We're only in our 13th year of operation. So what you see in that photo is really going back 13 years, we were a cornfield. So we've done a lot to build and to evolve the facility. It's open to the public, so we're getting better visibility in the community as well. And we're always looking for ways to reach out to the community. So our first objective, of course, would be education. So we have roughly 450 students visiting the Horticulture Center. And obviously those numbers are a lot higher than our horticulture and landscape management students. So that means that we're very cross-disciplinary. We're engaging students from the more closely related disciplines like soil science, for example, uses the facility a lot, and then other agriculture degrees within our department here. But then also we're trying to build bridges with people in diverse programs across campus, and we've engaged many different students in independent studies. Some have just a general interest in gardening or landscaping. Maybe they grew up planting a garden with their grandmothers or something, and then they wind up in our intro to hort class or maybe one of the other landscape classes. So what we've kind of done then is we've taken that interest, we sort of tapped that, and we've begun to integrate a lot heavier hands-on component into our survey level classes, like our introductory horticulture. So the cool thing about that, this past spring, between our 2 classes, I had 68 students, and only 2 of those 68 students were actually enrolled, committed to the horticulture and landscape management sequence. So that's kind of an untapped opportunity to maybe draw additional students in from within our own university boundaries. But the Horticulture Center also offers, we think, pretty valuable recruitment material. And it sounds like a lot of the community colleges have similar facilities like this. So when a student would come from any of our other community colleges, they'd find something that maybe looks somewhat familiar to what they evolved from or came from. And I can speak to that as well. Both Dave and I were transfer students actually coming to ISU. So we do value our transfer students for sure. And having some of that experience between the faculty here working at those schools, I think we'd all be excited to build more bridges with some of the younger faculty out there at the community colleges. And what I can finally add at the end is that we're definitely seeing a shift, and I think that that's in line with what some other people have said in terms of maybe the interests out there. Traditionally, I think most of us probably came from an ornamental horticulture background, but we're seeing more interest in sustainable food production and urban landscape or sustainable landscape management and things like that. So the nice thing about having a young horticulture center is that our courses can kind of help develop the center based on the needs and the interests of our students coming in. So I think that that's where we're probably the most fertile for growth, is really how we can utilize this 23 acres to meet the changing needs of our students and our industry. Enough for both of us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. That was excellent. Do we have a representative from Joliet Junior College on the line?
Yeah, we do. This is David Bartz with JJC. Thanks for having us. If you look at our first slide, we start looking at faculty size. We are, again, we are mixed in with the agriculture department, and actually just got the vet tech put back into our department as well. So actually our department numbers are maybe about 12 or so at that point, but we've got 7 ag hort, and of that we have 3 full-time horticulture instructors. In addition to that, we've got a farm manager that's full-time, recently a new hire that we've put on, and then we also have a greenhouse manager. The farm manager manages the agriculture farms, but he also plays a role in helping us maintain. We have a land lab that we do quite a bit of work on, and I'll talk more about that later. And then in addition, we've got each semester 2 students that we hire to work in the greenhouse during the semester and also the summer, and then also 2 students that we'll hire for working in the land lab in the summer months when we're running that facility in a couple of different ways. Our enrollment is currently about 45 students. If we look at the trends, we're down about 1% over the 2 years, but it doesn't take much with a number like that to change it from up or down. So I'd almost say we're kind of running stagnant. We're doing a little better than our total enrollment for the college, which is down 3%, but seeming to trend up. Lately, we've gotten some changes in administration and marketing, and I think they're doing a good job at trying to reverse the trend and pull our numbers back up to where we've had them in the past. If we look at our demographics and our age, about 80% of our students are under the age of 25. So a lot of them traditional coming out of high school, but then a lot of them have kind of been in the workforce for a little bit and making it kind of a change in the direction they want to go. We've got some older students making up about the upper 20%. Some are career changers. Some are just people on the looking to retire and just looking for something to do in their retirement ages. So then we've also got a kind of a separate part of our college where we have kind of the hobbyists, and that's almost taught by a different portion of the school, so we don't have too much contact with that part. Our breakdown between gender, 47% male, 53% female, so we're pretty evenly spaced on that. Most of our students are working at the same time as they are taking classes. So we do have a lot of night classes that we offer to help them out with that. As far as race, majority of our students, about 60%, are white, non-Hispanic. About 30% or just under 30% are Hispanic, and then we have about 10% that are Black or non-Hispanic population-wise. We look at next slide, some of the degrees or certificates that we offer. We've made some changes in the past few years, and we've kind of consolidated with the trend or the push to the administration looking at degree completion. So we used to have a number of different degrees that we offered. We kind of consolidated it on the traditional horticulture side to 1 degree, which is environmental horticulture. And rather than having 5 degrees, we've put them all under this environmental hort. So we have different emphasis such as greenhouse, nursery management, floral, and let's say greenhouse, and then also turf as well. In addition, we also have landscape contracting degree, which is accredited by NALP, and then also some certificates as well. We've fashioned those in a way that they're kind of stackable. So if you choose to start the program and maybe you just want to get a certificate, it works your way up towards the environmental horticulture degree as far as the associate's degree. So we're trying to kind of maximize our completion numbers, which was kind of a push in past years. And so even as they're going for maybe their associate's degree, they're also completing certificates as they go through that process. So that gives them at least something as they're working through to show an employer that they've completed something. And it's kind of good for both ends, us as the providers and them as the students and getting out in the career force. So not necessarily any new degrees that we've added, just basically that shift in kind of restructuring our course offerings to make it more, I don't know, kind of toot our horn a little bit more and show that the administration that, yes, we have a number of students that are graduating, and it's easier to show them all consolidated rather than just these kind of smaller degrees where you have less students in them. Any online courses, we do offer just one Intro to Horticulture online. We get a lot of non-horticulture students taking that course just because it's a general education science elective that they can take. And then also we do have a hybrid that's not listed on there. Our soils class is a hybrid form. We have a hybrid format that is available also to students. Again, most of our classes are hands-on, aside from, I guess, the hort class. That's the online portion. I think that's probably one of the strengths. We do a lot of stuff with the facilities that we have available for them. So if we look at the next slide and we talk about some of the improvements we've had with our facilities, just as a college as a whole, we've had a lot of new construction and buildings. We've had a new student center put in. We've had a new recreation center put in. We've had a new downtown Joliet off-campus facility put in that's kind of housed our culinary. So the college as a whole has had a lot of new updates as far as new buildings and actually a new nursing wing as well and a tech wing as well. So as a whole, the college has really put a lot of money into increasing kind of the draw and the buildings that we have. We've got in our area, we've got a new greenhouse that was put in 2011 on a state-of-the-art, have the Priva system to it, so it's all managed through computer systems as far as monitoring. We've got 3 separate houses up there. And in addition to that, we have a hydroponic system that will run up there. We also have some different styles of trays that we have up there. We've got a ebb and flow where you got the watering from below. We've got the irrigation where we're watering, and that's one of the things that we'll use for promoting the hort department. We do a lot of just sales for the community up there. We have an annual sale, and then we also have kind of some winter sales as far as poinsettias, and then a spring sale as far as bulbs. And that's a good method for students to get into learning how that process works in the greenhouse, and then also growing and producing some of those. In addition to our greenhouse, we have an outdoor formal garden in the front, and that was also designed, so when they put that installation, that was designed by our students in the classroom, and then they installed it, actually had a contractor come in and install the formal garden outside there, and then they planted that in there. In addition to that, we've added to some enhancement features with rubber paver walks that, again, we've kind of taken the opportunity to design those in our classroom and then in our design classes and then implement them in our construction classes. So kind of trying to continue that enhancement process from 2011, and it's kind of a nice little site to work on up there as we have little projects that we can work on at the greenhouse. And then also we've got a large, about 5-acre land lab that is fully enclosed with fencing because we have a problem with deer taking a lot of hit on our agricultural stuff. So we've got a nice kind of haven up there that we can do additional work in. From the landscaping side, we've done increased walks from our access points. We've put up arbors up there. and then also seat walls and sitting and teaching areas. From the traditional greenhouse side, we've been able to use that land lab for a number of different purposes. We've got 2 high tunnels that we put in there that we were able to extend our growing seasons, and we've also, the past 2 years, been able to do a community-supported agriculture system through there, where we're actually providing a service to employees at Joliet Junior College, where they just sign up for fresh vegetables. We'll grow them, and at the end of the week, they'll come up and pick them up in the cooler. And that's part of what the students that are hired during the summers is to maintain that agricultural center for organic production for vegetables and greens that we grow. Also got a vineyard out there that we grow. We've had that helped installed by Fox Valley Winery. We'll sell our grapes to them at times for winery. We also get some input in caring for that. So that's another great learning experience we have available. And then we've got the institution are trying to develop a new or an additional arboretum that we've got just for the hort department. In addition to, we've got a larger arboretum that's kind of under the biology wing of the college. So also in there we've incorporated the use of beehives too recently for pollination, and we've also had a couple 1-credit classes that we run on beekeeping to kind of teach them the sustainable part, and we'll sell those, the honey we produce from those. We've had a farmer's market up at the greenhouse the past couple of years to sell produce, but also some of the natural honey that we're able to use. Any other improvements is just, that's probably the major part of it. Student recruitment successes, probably the biggest thing that has come into play for us, and we're hoping to see good results. It was just this past year that we were able to implement that, is we've got a student worker that's been with us, and also a student that speaks Spanish and is actually a really good recruiter, very good at engaging students. Who've had them kind of go along with us out to our high school visits, and they're able to connect with the Hispanic population very well. And so hopefully we're going to see some fruit from those efforts out there. That's probably our biggest thing. We also pull a lot of information from NALT to develop flyers that we send out to counselors. We have a counselor's breakfast that we have every year, where the counselors come in and we talk with them about the department and the industry and the availability of jobs, and trying to kind of hammer that into them as far as where the industry's at and the opportunities for students. What makes our program special or unique? Probably we've been around for a long time. We've got a good ag and hort, so alumni base is really good, since we've got a lot of students out there, former students that we can associate with and touch base with, and we have a lot of interns that go out and do their coursework through them. Most of our courses are hands-on oriented. We've got a nice new land lab out there that we can use for implementing that. As I mentioned, when we're doing construction projects, we're creating enhancement for the site, whether it's pavers or arbors or whatever. We're looking to add a green roof system to some of our existing structures out there. We've also got a green roof on the new library that we have at the JJC campus as well. And then also we do a lot of, not just on campus, we'll take a lot of field trips for students to go to either the Arboretum we'll use extensively. One of our instructors, Dr. Miller, works in the summer for the Arboretum, and he's had actually a number of students intern for him doing research for the emerald ash borer. He's an entomologist, and then also getting interns for working at the Arboretum. So we use that also for additional plant ID and educational purposes, but then we'll also go to businesses and take students to kind of see more of a behind the scenes rather than us just talking. It's better for them to see from a contractor's or a grower's perspective on what a day is like. So, aside from that, faculty, we're pretty in touch with the students. We try to stay on top of them as far as keeping them engaged, but also keeping keeping them on target for graduation and trying to work with them with issues, because all students have issues that are outside the class that we try to be particularly aware of, and being more of kind of a mentor rather than a teacher, I guess. So that has been very beneficial for us, reaching out to students and making it a good, not only learning experience, but also developing relationships. That's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Bill Harmon from Lincoln Land.
Good morning.
Morning.
The information at Lincoln Land that you can see there on the screen, we are ag and horticulture are part of the same program. So the full-time faculty and our part-timers are all horticulture adjuncts. Our full-time are ag faculty, and then I teach horticulture as part of my assignment. Our enrollments have been trending down here over the last few years at Lincoln Land. Number of issues. The college has been down itself. Our ag enrollments have been going up, but our horticulture enrollments have been trending down. The demographics you can read there are students who are primarily adult females, a little bit older than the non-traditional students, predominantly white, and like I said, the majority of them are part-time. They're working jobs right now. So of that split, probably 2/3 are currently employed and are doing this taking classes to improve their current job. The other 1/3 would be people doing it for personal, development, wanting to learn more about horticulture for their own uses. So that's who our students are and who the college is. On the next slide, the degrees we offer, we have applied science degrees in horticulture. The students would specialize either into landscape design or turf, is that route, or they can get a certificate, the 9-month program for either landscape or turf if they want to take just a few classes, not have any gen eds, and get in the workforce faster. As far as new degree certificate programs, we haven't added any, none online at this time. As far as hands-on classes, the majority of them, all but maybe like a sales class, have hands-on activities, whether they're in the lab, outside doing construction or maintenance activities, propagation, working in the greenhouse, whatever. So hands-on is part of the program. Facility improvements, we are in the process. We're going to start construction this fall on a new ag center here on campus. That last piece of information on that slide, the college received an $18 million gift from a benefactor this spring, and that money goes strictly to the ag and horticulture programs. The interest of it does for perpetuity. So that's going to be something in the neighborhood of $750,000 a year on top of our current budget. So that's going to help pay for a new building, classrooms, labs, a greenhouse is planned for that, some conference rooms, meeting space so that we can bring in industry groups who are constantly wanting to come out here. We've been able to hire a full-time recruiter as part of this gift, and she's working with both students on that end as well as businesses on the other end as far as identifying internship sites and job opportunities. One of the interesting things that I guess that we'd say that makes this special is that we've been contacted by the local businesses here in the Springfield area. They need help, and they're coming to us wanting to know what they need to do to encourage more students into the program. So it's nice that you're getting that coming from that end instead of us going to them and asking for assistance. Some unique things we're doing, we will be offering the 4th year of our Ag and Horticulture Career Expo this September. It's a day where we bring potential employers out here on campus, kind of a career fair, and then we pay for the transportation and feed local high schools and our students as well to come out, meet with those businesses, find out what the jobs are, what training they need. For our students, they can find out where the jobs are right now that they're close to being looking for. Talk to our students, see campus, see all the facilities. Our Lincoln Land's pretty fortunate as far as facilities that they're all relatively new. The building we're in right now, Workforce, opened in 2012. The Millennium Center opened in 2000. And now we're going to add a new building in the fall of 2020, if the architects are correct in their estimation, that'll hold all of us in one spot. We have a lot of interest potentially from districts now as far as concurrent enrollment that we're looking at. Local high schools, Springfield District 186 is a market that's been tremendously underserved, but they're interested in providing jobs in both ag and horticulture to their students, because we know there's jobs here in the area, and how they can get their students into classes with us to help show them that market. So it's exciting times here at Lincoln Land. The program's small, but it has a lot of potential for growth. Thank you.
Great work, Bill. Thank you. Moving on to Southern Illinois, do we have either of the Karens or both? Is Karen Midden or Karen Jones on the call? I have Karen listed on our attendee list, but I will go ahead and flip through the slides. Okay, let's move on to the University of Illinois. Is Gary still with us? I will go through these.
Hello.
Hi, is
Hello.
that Gary?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Gary. How are you? We're going to go ahead and get started with yours.
Okay, sorry, I had a technical problem here. From the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois, a number of years back now, we merged the horticulture department with the natural resource unit, and then more recently, the horticulture faculty moved into the Department of Crop Sciences. So we have about 40 total faculty, with about 15 that have a horticultural background, although that includes people who would be in plant pathology or entomology or statistics that maybe have some horticulture background. When you get the actual, maybe what you consider horticulture, traditional horticulture faculty, it might be closer to about 10. Student enrollment was seriously down at our institution here in horticulture. We currently have 13 students, and they're in a horticultural food systems concentration at this point. The department here has a major now in crop sciences, and so the horticulture students are now part of the crop sciences degree. We have concentrations in horticultural food systems, agricultural or agroecology, crop agribusiness, crops, plant biotechnology, molecular biology, and plant protection. We have a new major that is starting this fall. It's a combination between crop sciences and computer science. And so we're looking at getting computer science students from the north end of campus to tie that in with a background in crop sciences. And we've already had a number of industries contact us looking for our graduates for that, even though we're just starting that program this fall. We also have certificate programs in horticulture and urban agriculture. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So we have online courses that include horticultural physiology, children and nature course, which has been very popular for us, a designing urban agriculture course, urban food production, plant nutrition, and plant biochemistry. We have several other blended format courses. Some of those are for the non-majors courses. And in our teaching efforts here, we have a pretty large number of students actually in our non-majors courses. We have I think we have 4 courses that typically would be popular with non-majors, although majors are included in some of those courses as well. But we would get about 760 students per year roughly right now in those non-majors courses. The had a fairly major renovation of facilities here. All of our teaching labs and teaching classrooms either have been renovated or are in the process of being renovated. We're looking forward to being in some of those new facilities this fall. We certainly have lots of greenhouse facilities here, and students oftentimes end up in the greenhouse as part of their participation in various classes. We have a number of things here, I think, that really makes our program attractive to people. We certainly have a great alumni group. We have an arboretum on campus here, which is about 40 acres and still growing at this point. We have a student sustainable farm on campus where it's composed of some of our interns working there, student hourlies, and lots of volunteer labor. The food that they produce there goes to the housing program on campus for the dorms, and they also have they participate in a farmer's market as well. We have a new course starting this fall where all of our freshmen will get a research experience. And again, this being a research campus, that's kind of near and dear to our hearts here. And so all of our students will now be in a research experience starting their freshman year. We also have a very active horticulture club. Even though we've got 13 students in the hort program, our club typically attracts 80 to 100 students to each of their meetings. So we have a large interest from Brown campus, and we have lots of students from and as well as club officers that come from all the way from the College of Engineering to Letters, Arts, and Sciences, and natural resources, environmental sciences, plant biology, and so forth. So the Hort Club has been a real positive for us. They put on a large flower show each spring, and that's been a real big deal. We've had some really nice cooperation from members of our industry to help make that happen in terms of donation of materials. We have another new program, another new degree that will be coming online here in the next year, roughly. It'll be a Metropolitan Food and Environmental Systems major. It will be housed in the College of Agriculture rather than in a department, and it will be basically a cooperative degree between horticulture, natural resource, environmental sciences, and foods and nutrition. And some of our larger food companies in the state here have expressed a lot of interest in getting graduates from a program like that. We currently have about 30 horticulture courses in our department. We've basically phased out almost all of the landscape courses just due to sufficient interest from the students. And so most of our courses are either general horticulture, horticulture physiology, and then the things related to the food sciences. And currently our college enrollment, we had a number of years where it went down, but this last year we've got a new dean, and our recruiting efforts have ramped up. The college enrollment is up, and the enrollment at the campus course, we've always operated here under enrollment ceilings, and so that enrollment ceiling has been lifted a little bit each year for the last several years. But in the horticulture itself, our enrollment is still sorely lacking. I think that will do it for the U of I.
Thank you, Gary. I noticed that Karen Midden may have changed formats. Karen, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I'm on the phone now. I was trying to talk, and some reason you weren't able to hear me, but I have been listening.
Would you like us to go back to your slides at all, and you could talk us through them?
If it's in your time frame, if not, that's fine.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay, I'll speak quickly. Yeah, I apologize for that.
That's okay. It's the fun of webinars, right?
Yeah, yes, and Karen Jones was going to fill in for me because I thought I was going to be out of the country. So anyway, this is Karen Midden. I'm actually the interim dean of the College of Agriculture at SIU, Agricultural Sciences. My background, though, I've been teaching at SIU since 1985, landscape design. I'm a landscape architect, so I'm not truly in that department anymore. However, I have continued to teach some. Recently, in the last 3 years or so, the department changed a little bit. So horticulture used to be in plant and soil science. That split, so getting some of these numbers are kind of difficult because now we have crop, soils, and environmental management and horticulture. And within horticulture, there's production horticulture and landscape horticulture. So looking at faculty size, well, it says there's 4 full-time. That is specifically in horticulture, but that doesn't count our soil scientists, our plant pathologists, and some of the other areas. And we do have 2 part-time. That number does not count me, and I still do teach. We have about 42 students. We dropped in horticulture in around 2013 to about 31, but we've been building back up, so I think that's a good trend. I have seen a lot of interest and I've been hearing this as a theme that students are really getting interested in sustainable horticulture and edible landscapes and that area, which has kind of helped direct some of what we're hoping that we're changing and doing here. Overall, the college trend is down. If you hear in the news, SIU is going to have a probably record low enrollment this year, but we have a new chancellor, and he doesn't find that extremely alarming because we're doing some new strategies and reorganization. And actually, I was going to retire in April, and I'm excited about some of the new things happening. So we're not that depressed about it now that the state has a budget as well. We have the pretty traditional age of students. We don't have the data on male and female, but I'm going to say it's about 50%. And many of our students come with work experience, and that ranges from urban horticulture type experience to farm experience to actually landscape experience. We are very predominantly just white. We work on diversity, not that successful. Most of our students are from Illinois. We're starting to get more from Indiana, though. You can change slides, please. So as I mentioned, we do have a master's and a bachelor's, and the PhD in our college is kind of an umbrella over the whole college. We have a very strong master's program. As I was talking, research is very important. So even some of our undergraduates, many of our undergraduates are involved in undergraduate research. It's not a course, but it's a common practice. We don't really have certificates in our program, but there are some areas that students specialize in. We let them kind of cater their interest once they get some of the core things like soil science, crop phys, then they can be more selective to cater to their interest. We have several online classes, and actually I teach 3 of them. One of them is landscape design. The beginning landscape design class here is a requirement for all the students in architecture and for the students in forestry recreation. So that class is average from 65 to 90 students, has 1 lecture, and then it's broken into labs. And we keep a lot of hands-on, although we do offer that online, and it's always filled. I teach another class, designing outdoor spaces and sustainable landscape practices. Those classes are taken by students across campus. Again, we get quite a few architecture students, and I didn't mention this in the recruitment, but I think that we always get a few architecture students come over saying, man, I really love this. I didn't know about it. Dr. Walters teaches an organic gardening and a class that's plants for the ecological landscape. And you can change slides, please. For the face-to-face classes, I've listed a few. I think it's fairly common what I've been hearing everyone say, so I won't go through each one of those. Again, the general horticulture class is required. It's a core class, and then some of the other classes, again, it's students kind of catering to what their interests are. Next slide, please. We had I don't know, to our great dismay, we had the plans for and all the funding for a state-of-the-art new greenhouse called our teaching greenhouse adjacent to our ag building. And with the budget impasse, the governor did not sign the last appropriation. We had to give some of our funding back. We now do not have this teaching greenhouse. We still can accommodate the students because we do have a 2,000-acre farm and a greenhouse out there. But we felt that's really hurt us in recruiting. I'm excited to say that our new chancellor sees agriculture as a star, and he's especially interested in horticulture and in urban agriculture and horticulture. So I think that we are moving rapidly on trying to still get the funding for that. With recruiting, I think we've done fairly well in agriculture recruiting, given that the university's gone down and horticulture is climbing a little bit, so that's a good sign. We go to every event that we can, so if community colleges would like for us to come visit, we'd love to if we haven't been there. We have what we call ambassadors. So it's a student recruiter. It's kind of a prestigious position. Students have to apply. We train them on being leaders and recruiters. They have to visit at least 10 high schools in ag programs. They can't overstep SIU. They attend a lot of our events for us. We find them to be fantastic. We also think that some of our open houses, like we have a green roof that was designed by and installed by students on a section of our ag school. We have occasions where people come up and help, and there's things like that we try to do to let people see, again, what all horticulture is. And similar to the other ones, I think this is just the nature. It's very hands-on, and we include teaching and research kind of together, so we hope to help instill in students an interest to go beyond just maybe the labor of something, going into labor jobs, but pursuing other careers or going into grad school even. And many of them do go on into grad school or even get their master's in landscape architecture. Next slide, please.
That's all the slides I have for you.
That's it. All right. So I tried to be fast. Thank you for going back.
No problem. We won't make Gary go again either. So we're going to move on to Shelby with Western Illinois.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. They didn't say yes when I asked.
Well, thanks for having me on the call. Again, I'm Shelby Henning with Western Illinois University. Some of you I know, some of you I do not. Faculty size here is 13. We fall under the Hort program falls under the agronomy program, which is very strong here. Hort, not so much. Everybody here in terms of faculty is full-time. I put here the total enrollment being 70 students, but I should clarify probably that I've been here since last August, so not even a year yet, and I teach all the programming here in terms of horticulture. So last year I taught 6 classes. This year that should go up to 7, I believe. And I would say, the average class size would be somewhere around maybe 13, 15, something like that. The trend so far, from what I can look at in terms of what's happening is, I mean, overall here at Western, we're experiencing precipitous declines in enrollment. For the past several years, it's gone consistently down. So I assume, well, the numbers just came out again. We're down once more. And again, this is affecting class size. So I don't think that it's really a reflection of the program in as much as it is that everything just seems to be decreasing in terms of the student body here. In terms of demographics, what I can see in my courses, you know, typical college-aged students, at least that I've experienced, you know, 18 to 25. A lot of them are transfers from a 2-year community college. Typically, gender-wise, we're split 50-50, I would say. A lot of the students do work outside of class, so they juggle kind of the experience here of going to school with maybe 1 or 2 jobs. I've had multiple students say that they work 2 jobs. I'm not sure how common that is amongst the other colleges here. A lot of the students do come from an agronomy family farm kind of application, so the agronomy program is very strong here. Hort, not so much. I will say that, you know, there was somebody here for a very long time. She retired, her replacement came in. She was here 2 years and then left, and then I came on last year. So I think there's been a little bit of a decline in Hort, just as the college has scrambled to kind of keep up teaching the classes. Hopefully with me in the seat for the long term, we can reverse that trend. Please. Next slide, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. In terms of degrees, what we have here is a minor in horticulture. We do not have a grad program here, at least in ag. The minor requires that you get, I believe, 18 hours of credit in appropriate coursework. So the horticulture classes, there are a few other courses that fall outside of horticulture, so botany might be something along those lines. As far as I know, there have been no new degree or certificate programs added over the past several years. Prior to my coming here, there were 2 ID courses offered online in the summertime. With the kind of uncertainty in terms of instruction, you know, who was going to be able to do this, they wound up canceling both of those courses, so it will take a little bit of work to get those back up. They were somewhat popular from my understanding, and I'm going to look at trying to bring them back. Again, I do try to keep my courses hands-on. Students, in my experience, really enjoy being able to not only learn about things, say, in the lecture format, but also to be able to do it, you know, in a hands-on manner. I think lends a lot of help, and I know that they have communicated to me that they really enjoy that part of my coursework. Next slide.
Yeah, it's freezing up on me. There we go.
Okay. Facility improvements that have helped. We used to share greenhouses with the biology program. I guess traditionally that was somewhat difficult to, you know, kind of get space from another program out of another different college on campus. As such, funding was procured for 3 greenhouses to be built at the agronomy farm, and those were constructed in 2014. Those have been used quite a lot for student engagement and instruction. So that was a very very good thing to have happen. Student recruitment success strategies and missteps. I have not been here long enough to say, but I can tell you this, that we are very active in trying to recruit. Given the fact that we have this enrollment decrease, we're trying as hard as we can to reverse this. The agriculture department was selected as one of 12 programs by the university as a signature program, I believe last year, the year before, meaning that they have decided that they are very, very important. And indeed, when we went to graduation this last spring, I think about half the students in the graduation were from the ag department. So we are well represented in a very strong department, I think, at the time being. I do think that I hope that the trend reverses itself here in the future in terms of the recruitment in my courses. Program special or unique, one thing about Western Illinois is that there's not a whole lot around here, at least in my interpretation, that offers what Western can to students, at least close by. So I think we have a lot to offer. It's just a matter of promotion and getting that out to students. And I think, Scott, with this, armed with some of this, strength of the green industry, I'll try to I will incorporate that into my coursework and maybe change the minds this fall. And I think we're seeing maybe a little bit of a reversal of the fleeing of the profession by students. Again, one thing that makes my program special is since I am so very new, I am really, really flexible and will endeavor to keep that flexibility as time moves on in developing my curriculum to reflect that, I'm not just teaching what I want to teach, but it's something that the students actually want to actively engage in. So I believe that finishes up my portion.
Thank you, Shelby. I really appreciate it. Now we're just going to move very briefly. I just ask for your patience as we go through the schools that are not able to send a speaking representative today. These are, yes.
I just wanted to, sorry, this is Rory from CLC. I had some technical difficulties getting connected. Before we go on to the schools not attending, can I say a couple minutes about CLC?
Sure. Would you like me to go back to your slides?
That would be awesome.
Okay. It'll be just a second. Okay. We're at your first slide.
My name is Rory Click, and I am the Associate Professor and Department Chair for the Horticulture Department at College of Lake County. I'm the sole full-time horticulture faculty member, but I do have 12 adjuncts, most of whom not only teach for me both fall and spring, but often do a couple courses each fall and spring. So our total enrollment is actually about 150 students, but many of them are part-time. So I think if we did an equivalent of, how many of those are full-time, it would be significantly less. So it probably sounds like a lot of people, but many of them are only taking a course or two each semester, because over 70% of our students are working, and a fair number of those are already employed in the industry. We do, however, graduate from both our Associates of Applied Science and our certificate programs combined about 20 to 28 people per year. This year we had 25 graduates between the December and May cycles. So a pretty fair number of people coming into the program and completing in a reasonably timely fashion. We've really worked hard to reduce that time to completion for people. I've been here, this is my 10th year, and that was a big push for us, is one, to increase the completion rates, which we definitely did, and then to reduce the time to completion. And then another push that we've had during my time is to connect more with employers. We have probably over 75 employers from the local region that post positions with us. Several of those create internships, formal internships, and recruit from our program. And so we have roughly about 82, I think it's 82.3 or 82.4% employment either before or upon graduation, which is pretty good. In terms of our enrollment trends, certainly as a college overall, given that people were kind of seeking additional workforce training during the recession, our overall enrollments were up 2009 to 2013, and horticulture benefited from that. And then since that time, we've gone down a little, and then, really strategically recruited and gone up a little and down a little, but the changes have been relatively small, 1% or 2% here or there. I would say we're holding our own. Certainly, I would like to see more seats filled, even if my unduplicated headcount has only gone down maybe 25 or 30 students. I feel like my seats filled has really gone down because so many more of those students are now only able to go to school part-time. We typically are running 15 to 19 classes each fall and each spring, and then just over the summer. We have a very broad demographic range. I have young high school homeschoolers that will come in and take a class or two, and then I have adult returning students, but the vast majority are still in that traditional age, about 42% from 18 to 24. And then the next highest percentage, about 31%, are 25 to 34. So still young, but have done something else and are realizing they need to come and get some focused technical training. I think another thing that's interesting about our program is we are about 30% Latino, both as a college and as a program. Within that Latino population, I definitely have a stronger representation from male Latinos than female, but we're starting to get some female Latina students as well. But otherwise, we're just slightly male overall. Blue collar, white collar, we're very mixed. We're mixed as a county, and we're certainly mixed as a program. Work experience is required for all of our associate students. They have to complete a semester of practicum. And then we also have, we're a veteran serving institution because of our proximity to the Great Lakes Naval Station and the Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, the VA. So we work with a number of veterans and have some great veterans liaison staff at the college overall that work with us. Next slide. Right now, and for the last several years, we've had 5 different degree tracks and 5 different certificates. Our certificates are shorter. They can be completed in 1 year, typically 18 credit hours or 6 courses. We are just now in the process of streamlining those degree options. We're going to have 1 core horticulture associate's degree, but increase the number of certificates to 6. And if people would like a specialty, they can layer a certificate into their electives. But we're hoping this will make it a little less confusing for people to move through the program and also give students more flexibility. As a limited enrollment program with classes that are typically only 12 to 18 people, I'm under pressure to kind of think of strategic ways to reduce the number of course cancellations, or at the very least, have those course cancellations not impact students' progress through the program. So that's the strategy there. We did add sustainable agriculture in 2012. I think it's been really popular. We've concurrently developed a campus farm along with that major, and we use that as a hands-on learning laboratory. And then for some time, we've also had natural areas management, a kind of applied restoration ecology. And to my knowledge, at least a few years ago, this was unique among all the community colleges within Illinois. No one else had an associate's program in applied restoration ecology. And so we have a fair number of students in that specialty that go right into working as field technicians for environmental consulting firms. And it seems to be good work, or for local forest preserves or conservation districts. We do have some online courses. Right now, we only have our introduction course, which is a lecture course that's fully online. We have a few others that are blended, meaning we handle the lecture and discussion online, but still do a face-to-face hands-on lab and field component. We did have a few more online courses previously. When we did the Sustainable Ag program in 2012, it was under a TACT grant from Department of Labor. And they really wanted to see that online learning. But the feedback from our students was they wanted that hands-on component. And so we kind of pulled back from some of those courses and really work hard now. Even in our lecture intro course, we still have activities. We still take students in the field. If they do it online, they do those activities on their own and submit a photo journal of them. So our students really want that portion of it. Next, please. I would say, the real facility improvement for us is the gradual expansion of our farm. We've added 2 sizable hoop house structures for season extension growing. We now grow about, I'm going to say 9.5 months out of the year. We're producing food and integrating that into various courses. 3/4 of that hoop house space is for in-ground food production, but we have another portion of one of the hoop houses that's for containerized nursery production. All of our classrooms have been updated in the last few years with new instructor computers, AV equipment. I'm always working with our 1.5 staff people to figure out what equipment we need to update. We got new tillers and chainsaws last year. I guess our recruitment issues, I think ebb and flow like any strategies. We've worked to develop long-term relationships with several high school programs in the region. Green Youth Farm operates through the Chicago Botanic Garden and our local forest preserve. Prairie Farm Corps is through a local nonprofit that does farm business development. And Youth Build is part of that AmeriCorps arm, working to give jobs and kind of on-the-job training to people. And we have all of those high school students every summer come out to see our farm and learn about our program and take a tour of campus. We found that focusing on those high school students who have already self-identified as wanting to have careers involved with the outdoors or building things or farming is a little more effective for us. We've done some career fairs and STEM career presentations, but I don't know that we're necessarily recognizing students from those kinds of recruitment events. Our full-time staff person, Matt DeRose, is primarily focused on local food coordination and managing our farm, but he also manages the Facebook page for our program, and he's really phenomenal at social media. And I think if we could do more social media and have a better updated web presence, that's certainly, what younger students are, that's how they get their information. Next, please. So I struggled with the word format because I'm a picture person, but just a few photos. That was our pumpkin celebration. Last year, we were part of the first annual Lake County Farm Stroll in cooperation with University of Illinois Extension and the Lake County Farm Bureau. We had over 200 people come out and visit our campus farm. Pictures of the students using our hoop house for class lab, some of the harvest that we have. We have our own campus farm logo that you see there backwards because it's on the sticker. We also do cut flowers for a weekly farm market along with our produce. Just a little of the produce production there. Next, please. And we do sell to the public through our weekly farm market that you see there on the lower right. And we also sell to our cafeteria. We involve our production students in preparation of materials for an annual plant sale. So you see them in propagation class there in the middle, and then customers at our plant sale. We do on-site composting. We have our own apiary. We just got named a Bee Campus USA this past spring. We integrate that into a number of our courses. We just tried to show them the whole range of horticulture and really focus all of those tracks around the core message of sustainability. Last slide, please. And then again, our students who are natural areas management students get to participate in a prescribed burn on campus. We have several prairie and wetland areas that we integrate and collaborate with our fire science program. We really work hard to kind of promote those job connections. So we have a great job center here at the college overall who collaborates with us, and then we post those jobs to our Facebook page. We've had students participate in the ILCA student design competition. This is a picture of one of our students who actually took first place a couple years ago. We try and make the summer useful by doing some special topics and continuing our intro courses. And a lot of times we get some people who will come and take an 8-week course that might not take a 16-week course. And we hook them in, and hopefully once they get in, they stay in. I'd love to see our program be bigger, but I'm pleased that even though we're limited in size, we're very vibrant. The students are really positive and excited about their careers. And we certainly are looking toward several high schools that have approached us about dual credit. So we'll be working on those relationships this next year. And then I don't know if Dave Kopsel from Illinois State was part of this group, but I know we've talked with Dave quite a bit about a possible articulation agreement into the program there. So we'd like to get relationships so that our students can transfer on. Probably about 20% are now identifying that they'd like to continue on and get a bachelor's degree. So I think that's really positive. We made sure all of our courses are transferable. Went through that process about 2 or 3 years ago now, and that's been very good for us as well. I think that's it.
Thank you, Rory. I appreciate it. We're running about 10 to 15 minutes behind. I'm going to go relatively quickly through the schools that do not have representatives today, and then we can just save a few minutes for questions or comments at the end. I just ask for your patience. One note about Danville Area Community College, Amanda Krabby, who's relatively new to the program, unfortunately she's not able to present today due to a hearing disability, but I know she does have a number of questions that I'm sure she may be reaching out to some of you in regards to whether your curriculum or enrollment or just with some general questions. So don't be surprised if you receive an email from Amanda, because I know that she's very excited about getting the program relaunched. Moving on to Kankakee Community College. If there is a representative from any of these colleges who was able to jump on, I know they let me know that they were not going to be able to attend, but just interrupt me and let me know. Kishwaukee College. Lakeland College. McHenry County College. And finally, Triton College. All right, that ends the presentations. I wanted to find out for the last few minutes if anyone has any questions, whether for me or for any of the other educators who are able to participate today, or any comments about this format or moving forward.
This is Karen Midden. I actually was interested in, at the beginning, the FLIP program, the FLIP, that focusing on high school recruiting with positive imagery of green industry. Is that something that could be shared so that, you know, we can move into high schools throughout Illinois and try to use this material? Or is it territorial information?
Yeah, so they're getting started this year on that as a focus area. They've set aside a budget of about $10,000 to $12,000 to develop materials. A lot of it is going to be dependent more on electronic media. So the FLIP committee that's their challenge from the board, is to focus on both high school students and counselors as well as frontline labor, and that's going to involve a lot more community immersion. So I would say we'll have much more to report on in about 5 to 6 months.
Okay, no, that sounds exciting. But I do like this format. I think this was a great idea.
Hey, Scott, this is Dave Kopsel. Are you working at all with the Seed Your Future program? Because I know Ball Seeds was one of the originators of that.
It is something that we are well aware of. We haven't established any formal relationship or partnership with Seed Your Future yet. We're also heavily involved with the Landscape Industry Careers website that the NALP has put out. In fact, we really like that as a reference point. And so we've been really linking to that more than trying to create something on our own. So we're using a lot of the Landscape Industry Careers website when we speak with guidance counselors and when we plan to do more immersion with high school students. But that's something that the FLIP committee is aware of, but we do not have anything formal yet.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, Scott, one thing that Dave and I noticed, this is Nick from ISU, in sitting through these presentations from the schools, there's a lot of what we find as well. There's a lot of interest in sustainable food production, and even the term edible landscape came up for sure from a few people. So is that something that's also on the industry's radar, or is that something that maybe hasn't quite caught on yet?
A few different things. We're definitely seeing a major uptick in the use of edibles within the landscape, whether those are integrated in a traditional ornamental garden space or a standalone garden. Bree Arthur, the author of Foodscape Revolution, spoke at iLandscape this past year. In fact, she was our highest rated speaker in her sessions, I think, had over 200 or 300 people within the room. We've had Jeannie Nolan speak before. I would say right now we're seeing it from a professional standpoint in more higher income areas, North Shore, western suburbs, where you're seeing the integration or the standalone specialty gardens maintained by a professional. Obviously, we're still seeing it at a high level of DIYers who are doing their own gardening or are getting into gardening. I would say as an offshoot of like, for example, a standalone position within a landscape company, we're not seeing a lot of that yet. I think that landscape companies are becoming more adept at caring for those types of spaces, but most of those are being run by, I would say, either niche contractors or niche consultants who will contract with a landscape company to oversee the edible garden spaces.
Sure.
Anyone else? Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I also want to thank you for your patience. I do recognize we went a little bit long. What we're going to do now is I'm going to send you all a PDF copy of the revised slides, as we did add an additional presentation, as well as the link to the webinar, so you'll be able to watch it on YouTube. Hopefully, fingers crossed that this recorded correctly. And then we'll follow up with maybe some suggestions about how we want to proceed doing this again in the future. And also, if you guys have any comments that you just didn't feel comfortable sharing online today, feel free to shoot me an email or just some feedback or suggestions for how we can all engage with one another as we move forward. And I just want to wish you all, obviously, a great summer break. And I know you're all gearing up for the fall. And so I'll leave you alone for a little bit, and then, but also to mark your calendars for iLandscape next year. We look forward to seeing all of you there and your students at the job fair and, of course, at the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.